had the great fortune of being in college from 1969 to 1973. I feel like almost, need I say more? I was surrounded by the New Left and feminism and anti-war politics, and I often think, who would I be today if I had not been at college during those years, because it completely shaped who I am. So I think my feminism must have first, my early years, 69, 70, I was just at CCNY, City University of New York, and there's just so much activity around that influenced me. And I heard about a program within CUNY that was Richmond College on Staten Island, and they had the first women's studies program. I think it was, they at least at the time said, in the country. I don't know if this is documented or true, but that's what they promoted themselves. And I was very interested. I mean, so it's interesting for me to think back, because I was obviously self-identified as a feminist enough to seek out and change schools because there was a women's studies program. Even though, when you ask me this, I think, was I? It felt like much more anti-war activity in a way to me earlier. Then once I got to Richmond, and there was a women's studies program, and I had been completely up in the world and changed. Besides the fact that I met my best friends, who are still my best friends, with whom you may meet, Susie Orbach, Carol Bloom. Yeah. They were both in that women's studies program, and that's where I met them. Okay. And Phyllis.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the activities that you were involved in, since the anti-war movement, any rallies or anything that's part of the movement that you were part of?
Oh, entirely. You mean feminist movement? Well, in feminism, there was the anti-war movement, so I was very involved with that, and there were, loads of demonstrations and organizations, and learning about feminism and Marxism and socialism, and placing all of this and trying to figure out how I saw myself, racism. These were enormous cultural, political issues that people were talking about. And for feminists, it was fantastic, because there was a lot of, coming out of this, because the left came out of the civil rights movement in this country, there was a lot more discourse, discussion on racism, and then if you were a leftist who was studying Marxism, which at the time you did, it wasn't such a dirty word at that point in this country, there was a lot on class. So there was a lot of discussion already on class and race in the left. And feminists really had a new voice, and one that had to be very strong, because people wanted to dismiss it. Leftists were dismissing it, right? Leftist men were dismissing it. It's like, this is about women, this isn't about me. You're a white woman, especially if you're a white woman. There were a lot of racial issues, within the women's movement, seeing it as a white women's issue. So we had to develop some clear thinking. So we weren't alone, we were challenged. I think there was a real resistance, early feminism met with a resistance. Well, second wave. And so it was terrific, because it was really starting to say, how do I see myself as a woman, as a white woman, as a middle class woman?